in a game that not only saw the Hurricanes split the season series against the New Jersey Devils, but it was their last home win of 2024, and even more importantly, Rod Brind'Amour is now officially the fastest coach to 300 wins.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I'm also the co-host of the Surgecast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun show for you guys on this Monday edition as we get to review the Hurricanes' 5-2 win from Saturday night as they split the season series against the New Jersey Devils. Talk about a milestone night that was for Coach Rod Brind'Amour getting his 300th win behind the bench, which is the fastest ever to do so in NHL history. And we get to hear from the man himself post-game following the win. For those who are listening, sorry for my voice being a little hoarse. Have been dealing with a sickness since the holiday break, so hopefully this week it should be going away. But if I do sound different, because I'm sick once again, and just trying to make sure I'm still getting episodes out for you guys, because I know it's very important to talk about the Hurricanes, especially how the season has been going. But I do apologize if my voice sounds a little off per usual. But doing better, just drinking lots of tea and, just trying to get the voice to get back to 100%, try to get rid of the sickness that I got. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. But the thing that we are not sick of is seeing Hurricanes wins. And the Hurricanes on Saturday night were able to come back in the second game of a back-to-back after losing Friday night to the Devils in New Jersey 4-2. They came back Saturday and put in probably one of the best 60 minutes of hockey that we've seen. I would say probably maybe not in the last, since November 13th, but I think overall this season, just a complete game of, not falling back, not letting the other team run away with it, not get out physical, letting the other team take care of the physicality. And, special teams played a key role, big goaltending stops from Dustin Dukarski, and overall a game where it just seemed like everything was going right for the Hurricanes, even in the face of some craziness that was going on in a very feisty playoff-like atmosphere. I mean, right out from the gate, you could tell earlier that the Hurricanes were going to bring a lot of physicality. I think just from the fact that of how it seemed like they have been kind of out hit a lot in the last few games, this is where it's insane to look at the stat. This is 41 hits in this game alone, which is the fifth highest under the Rod Brind'Amour era. Like, you could clearly tell right away that the Hurricanes were coming out angry, especially after how they lost Friday night. Like, Martin Necas was throwing hits, Dmitry Orlov was throwing hits, Jacob Slavin. It seemed like anyone who had a pulse on that Hurricanes roster was throwing bodies. So they actually tied the Devils in hits 41-41. And funny enough, the Hurricanes also had 41 shots on goal, which is kind of crazy to think about it. And even Rod Brind'Amour said after the game too, this is a game that you can see what you're capable of. And for the fact that the Hurricanes came out on fire from the rip, a few power play opportunities, throwing lots of hits, just being a team that we're not going to get bullied on their home ice, especially for the fact that it was their last home game of 2024. And per the Hurricanes, it was their 86th straight sellout in a row. In all of 2024 since February, I think it was like 13th, every home game was sold out for the Hurricanes. Like, that is really impressive for the fact that the Hurricanes, not only on the ice are doing something, but for the fact that as a community, they are selling out games they're selling out every single game, which is crazy. But, the first period didn't really see any scoring. The Hurricanes did have a power play opportunity. They outshot the Devils in every period, 16-10, 12-7, and 13-6. And you can tell, like, this was a game where the Hurricanes really wanted to take this one. Even for the fact that, Paul Cotter did score a goal. Unfortunately, it was on a Kotkaniemi blown tire. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. But, that's just unfortunate side of hockey. And you're kind of, as the game was going on, yes, they're down 1-0. It's about ready to close it out. You could tell that the Hurricanes were pushing. It's just Jake Allen was finding the right saves at the right time. But talk about a great sequence by Seth Jarvis and Sean Walker to find Dmitry Orlov all alone in the faceoff circle. Basically like the house that Ovi made, essentially, just on the opposite side on the right-hand circle, and absolutely rips a one-timer right off of Jake Allen's arm, goes into the net with 30 seconds left. Now you're feeling, okay, that was a huge goal. You're going into the third period tied 1-1. You're not down. You're not really having to come back and get 2 goals to lead it. Now you got the one. You tied the game up. Now it's like, okay, anything could happen in this period. And luckily, it's just, you just need to get one and see where the momentum goes from there. And funny enough, like how it's been for the Hurricanes so far this year. Andre Palat did score a minute into the period, for his 8th of the season. Jesper Bach for his 33rd assist, but you can kind of tell that Simmons goes a little bit of a push off from Brott on the back of Brent Burns. And earlier in the period, you kind of saw like a not so, it was pretty much like a soft penalty against the Hurricanes that weren't really something it's kind of like a tic-tacky type thing with like, Jacob Slavin lips the stick. By a letter of the law, it's kind of a penalty, but it's more of like not having the proper stick grip. So that was kind of a call that maybe shouldn't have been on the Hurricanes, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. I can definitely tell both sides reffing was kind of not the greatest in the last couple games for both sides. So it's not just one team is getting favor over the other. I think the Hurricanes and the Devils equally should have gotten calls that maybe shouldn't have been given, but hey, NHL officiating, man, what can you do? So the Devils go up 2-1. It is what it is, but luck for the Hurricanes, they finally got some puck luck of their own as not even 51 seconds later, Sebastian Aho goes into the zone, gets a pass from Rozovic, and just shoots it, kind of goes off the right side of the body and right arm of Jake Allen, squeaks through. You can see just kind of bounce on the ice and go into the back of the net. Huge goal by Aho. I know he's been wanting that one for a while, and that's just the luck that the Hurricanes really needed, because you could tell like they had a lot of his chances. Pucks going off a post going off the goalie, but no one's there, or it's just this, that, or the other. So that was one where it's like that was really huge for the Hurricanes, where they really needed that for sure. And then just over halfway into the third period, Jackson Blake, right place, right time, great hand-eye coordination, for his 8th of the season, tips in a shot from Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And that was a big goal from Jackson Blake. Like I said, his 8th of the season, gets the Hurricanes back out front, which ends up being the game-winning goal. But that's the one where you really need it, especially when you got on the special teams on the power play. That's even great as well, for the fact that while your penalty killers did their jobs in the game, because they did go 2 for 2 overall. Now you got one. That's 1 for 4. Hey, you'll take anything you can get, especially in a game like this where you can tell it's going to be close. Either it's 5-on-5 is going to be a huge factor, or even a power play goal will set you to the next level and give you a better chance to win. And that's basically what it was for the Hurricanes. Like I said, Blake did get the game-winning goal. It was huge. And luckily, that wasn't the only insurance marker for the Hurricanes, as Jack Rozovic, just not even a couple minutes later at 12:06, gets his team-leading 15th of the season. Seth Jarvis with his second assist on the night for number 14. Just great passing once again by Walker. Jarvis finds Rozovic. He puts it home. Now it's 4-2. And then over 4 minutes later, up 4-2, the Devils pull their goalie early. Rozovic finds the empty net from more great passing from Jarvis and Aho for his 16th of the season. Dustin Tokarski stops 21 of 23, and your Carolina Hurricanes win the game. And talk about a great night overall, just by the guys who were able to put up multiple point nights for the Hurricanes, because you're looking at, Seth Jarvis, 3. He had 3 assists in the game. That is his first ever 3-assist game. And you think about all the stuff he's done as a Carolina Hurricane, it's really surprising for the fact that was his first ever 3-assist game. So big shout out to Seth Jarvis for doing that, because that was a huge game from him. How about Jack Ross? And he also finished with a +4 in the game as well. So you love to see that from Seth Jarvis, finishing with a +4 on the night, 3 points. Jack Roslovic, 2 goals and an assist for 3 points. He finishes with a +3. Now he's extended his team-leading goal run at 16. And now, just after 34 games into the season, or 36 games into the season, or whichever they're at now, he's at 16. His career best is 22. He's only 6 off from that. So we could be looking at him probably before the end of January, might beat his career high in goals, which would be awesome to see. And just for the fact that he is someone that, maybe he's not getting a lot of assists, but he's finding a lot of depth scoring that the Hurricanes need, and the way he's doing it too. It seems like he just fit into the system really well. So while he is on a 1-year contract, I would not be surprised if the Hurricanes give Jack Roslovic an extension, because it seems like he's fit in really well with Carolina. I think that's something they really need to keep an eye on for maybe possibly a long-term option. And then Sebastian Aho also got a multi-point night, got a goal and assist. Of course, he got that tying goal and then helped in the Roslovic second goal of the game. He also finishes with a +4. And Sean Walker also did get 2 points as well in the game, both of them assists. So great job by Sean Walker. Honestly, he's been playing really great hockey as of late too. It seems like in both Devils games, he's really coming to his own. The confidence is really high. He's playing probably his best hockey in a while, and that's why Rod Brind'Amour after the game gave him the category 5 hat, just for the fact that his confidence keeps getting better. And we always keep saying it too. It's defensemen take longer to grow in the system, and the more they have to keep going, the better and better they get. You're finally seeing like, okay, it's over 3 games. It's kind of clicking in for him now. And talk about a night where you don't have your defensive partner in Shane Gostisbehere. You get Ty Smith coming up, making his Canes debut, which give credit to Ty Smith for how great he played too, for the fact he's played 13 games in Chicago. He's been a healthy scratch for 13 games for the Canes as well. Comes in on a second half of a back-to-back against the Devils, who you just lost to the night before. Shane Gostisbehere is out. Now you're having to come in at the last minute and be like, hey, we need you. And plays power play 1 minute. Is paired up with Sean Walker. He seems like he just fit in right away. And that's something you love to see. And great job by Ty Smith just being able to come in and doing his job like that. You just love to see it. But overall, just a great overall team performance. Like I said, multiple point nights for a bunch of guys. Jack Roslovic with 2 goals, Seth Jarvis with 3 assists, and a huge goal by Jackson Blake to get the Hurricanes up 3-2 on that power play goal. And talking about Sean Walker, his confidence is just getting better. And Dustin Tokarski too, coming in, only giving up 2 goals, stops 21-23. Not more you can ask out of Tick for that one, for the fact that you come in. A lot of the guys are going to be tired. I mean, both teams played the night before, but just to come in and shut the door and only give up 2 against one of the best teams in the NHL, hey, you'll take that. So a very huge win. The season series was split between both sides, and a lot of goals between the Hurricanes and the Devils for sure. Because you're talking about a series where it's 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, and then you get a 5-2. We almost had 4 games of 4-2 score lines, but you know what? It seemed like every team that was home won that series. So or won that game. So you could definitely tell there was a lot of play. Like, it was definitely playoff-like atmosphere. A lot of things happened in that game, between, Timo Meier getting ejected on the knee with Marty Necas, Dmitry Orlov getting hit, high by Eric Halla, and then that whole thing ensues. It's, like I said, the fishing wasn't great on both sides, so gotta give credit to that for the fact that both teams, I think, outside of a couple of these instances, there were some reffing calls that should have been a lot better, but, it is the toughest league to do that for. But, it is what it is. Either way, the Devils are still first in the division. The Hurricanes are third. There's a lot more to go. There's a lot more games left in the season. This was the last time these two teams are going to meet up. So if we get a 7-game series in the playoffs this year, like we did a couple years, we did over the last few seasons, it is going to be absolutely electric. So we definitely interested to see when that meetup will happen. But not only did the Hurricanes win on Saturday night to split the season series and win their last game at Lenovo Center of 2024, it was a monumental night for Rod Brind'Amour for his 300th win. And why that's monumental? Well, there might be some new history tacked onto that as well. So we'll dive into everything that is Rod Brind'Amour in his 300th win here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Did Rocket Money help you find subscriptions you forgot about or that you're paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscription to reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Once again, that's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Welcome back to segment 2 for Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said, the Hurricanes not only won on Saturday night, the season series with the New Jersey Devils, but for the fact that it was a milestone night for head coach Rod Brind'Amour as he got his 300th NHL win behind the bench, which puts him really in some elite company with Bruce Boudreau, who also managed to win 300 games in under 500 total behind the bench, win 300 while coaching in 500 or less or fewer games. But the thing is with Rod Brind'Amour, he did it quicker than him. In 488 games, which gives Brind'Amour a .615 win percentage, he managed to win 300 games in 488 behind the bench for the Carolina Hurricanes, which is absolutely crazy to think about. And the thing, too, is he becomes just the 8th coach since 2000 to get his first 300 wins with a single franchise. And that's just the way they think, because here's the other company of coaches who are in the top 5 in terms of reaching 300 games. So you got John Cooper, Tampa Bay Lightning coach, who also, like Brind'Amour, did play in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for the Notre Dame Greyhounds. But Tom McClellan did in 515 games, and then Dan Bilesma, former Pittsburgh Penguin, now current Seattle Kraken coach, did in 517. And you think of the legacy that Rod Brind'Amour has had, and if you're going back to him as a player, you're talking January 2000, over 24 years of Rod Brind'Amour not just building a legacy as a coach, but as a player and just as a person in the Raleigh area and for the Triangle and for, North Carolina as a whole. Joins the team in the trade for Keith Primo, helps the team as an alternate captain go to the 2002 Stanley Cup final against the Detroit Red Wings. Yes, you lose. It's unfortunate. It's what it is. But, you got a Eastern Conference final for your first one of the franchise, since relocation. Then just 4 years later, he helps them win the Stanley Cup, beating the Oilers in 7 games. So now you get your first ever Stanley Cup as the captain for franchise history. Then calls it a career, gets his number retired, and then in 2011 becomes a assistant and development coach. Then you're talking 7 years later, and going through the dark times of the Hurricanes, through that whole process, becomes the head coach in May. And then you're like, okay, what's going to happen now? You got a former captain, now's the head coach. The Hurricanes have missed the playoffs in the last 10 years. What's it going to be like under Brind'Amour? And he gets his first win October 5th, 2018 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And you're just like, okay, that's great. There's win number 1. Let's see how 2018-19 goes. And, it was definitely an up and down season for Brind'Amour and the Hurricanes. Of course, you're still talking about a ragtag roster of guys that, previous regime made. There were some struggles here and there, but you know what? That season, April 4th, they get in. They clinched their first playoff berth since 2009. You're in the playoffs finally. You make a surprise run to the Eastern Conference Final where you face the the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then, yes, you ultimately lose, but hey, you know what? Talk about an absolute run for Brind'Amour and the Hurricanes. It's just, you're talking about a dynasty run that kind of just ran into a really stacked Penguins team, but you'll take that first year under Rod Brind'Amour. You're finally back in the playoffs and you make a deep run like that. And then not even 2 years later, he gets win number 100 in 173 games, which is mind-blowing to think for the fact that it only took him 173 games to get 100 wins. And then that same season goes and wins the Jack Adams for NHL Coach of the Year. Then you fast forward not even a year later, February 5th, 2022, he's the first coach in Canes Whaler history to coach in the All-Star game. And then, just like win number 1, his 200th game in 330 games coach came on January 12th against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So he got his first and his 200th. And then you're talking about 3 straight division titles that includes that weird Central, the Discover Central Division, and that weird shortened silo season where you're just stuck to your certain region. But, and then you get 2 Metro Division titles coming back from that. So you're talking 3 straight. Then in 2023, he gets 26th postseason win, which is the most in franchise history when it comes to postseason wins. And then, earlier this year in 2024, they finished the 23-24 season with a 52-23-7 record. They become one of just 6 teams in NHL history to register 3 consecutive 50-win seasons. And in that playoff, he won his 6th straight first-round matchup, which puts him and only one other coach in NHL history to win your first rounds 6 straight seasons as a head coach. And then, of course, now on December 28th against the Devils, he gets his 300th win, which is now the quickest ever in 488 games. And like I said, it goes to show when you look at the playing career, which I don't know why he's still not in the Hall of Fame, but that's a different discussion for another time. But it's crazy to think of the legacy that he has as a player. Now you come and do it as a coach, and now you're talking about a guy who's already went through 300 games in NHL history, fastest to ever do it. And should have been done a little bit sooner this season, but going 6-6 in December so far, that's, it's kind of tough, but, you kind of wish it was done sooner. But to do it in the last regular season game at Lenovo Center kind of just feels a little bit more special for the fact that they did it the way they did. 86 consecutive shutout or sellout for the franchise at home, making almost every home game a sellout, including playoffs. But it goes to show the mentality of who Rod Brind'Amour is and how much of the culture he has built around here, for the fact that they got the players, even back in the 2019 ragtag team that made the playoffs. He has found a way with him, Jeff Daniels, Tim Gleason, Paul Schoenfelder, all the coaches, even management too. Every year since Rod's been coach, has found a way to continue to make the roster better and continue to make the playoffs. Because you're looking at a team who made the playoffs a few times before they hit that 10-year drought, and now you've gone 6 straight playoff appearances, 3 division titles, 2 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, and you won the first round all 6 years that Rod Brind'Amour has been coach, and he's won a Jack Adams, and was the first coach in franchise history to be at the All-Star game behind the bench. And this is after the legacy he left as a Stanley Cup winning captain. I don't know how many coaches are faces of a franchise for hockey. I mean, you got all those, really good coaches back in the day and stuff like that. But, maybe you're talking about the Red Wings, maybe the, Avalanche, Montreal, stuff like that, Boston. You might have some coaches who've, made some legacy, impacts. But in terms of Carolina, I don't know if you're ever going to get another person who's been able to transcend player and as a coach like Rod Brind'Amour to be a face of a franchise. I don't know we're ever going to see another player be a coach for the Hurricanes. Maybe, who knows? Maybe down the line, maybe you can see that happening. But in terms of an impact of a legacy, like Rod Brind'Amour, who's represented for 24 years since that trade. Who knows where this franchise would be without Rod Brind'Amour being a part of it in a certain way, as a player, now as an assistant, and now as a coach, as the main boss. But even for the humility too, as well, for the fact that while it's a monumental night, when asked about it, he just said, coaching is interesting. You get way too much credit when your team wins, and you just get abused when it doesn't. It's the group that you have that makes you successful. I've been blessed. We've talked about it a lot. We've got a really good group. Win or lose, you can count the times on one hand where it wasn't a solid effort. They give you what they can every night, and that's something I take the most pride in. And that's just for the fact that he giving credit to his players. Like, even if this is a monumental thing for him, Rod Brind'Amour will still find a way to turn it back and put it on his players for being the guys that got him to where he was. And yeah, wins and loss records go against the coach. Same thing with goalies. But Ron knows it's the guys on the ice that make the importance of if they do win or lose. But the fact of the culture that he has set, the roster that he has helped build with management, and the fact that the success you've seen where outside of, the team being part of relocation talks, money being lost, multiple years of not making the playoffs, to where now he comes in and within 6 seasons, 6.5 seasons, has now gone from 0 to 300 wins, the fastest, in 488 in the regular season. Now has the franchise record for the most playoff wins as a coach. Multiple division titles. Now the next thing is go win an Eastern Conference final and win a Stanley Cup final. And for the fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is still insane to me. Like I said, it's another conversation for another time. But when he wins, when he wins the Stanley Cup as the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, I don't know if there's going to be anyone that's going to dispute what a legacy impact, what a overall career impact in the NHL is for hockey, for the fact that you've gone on and won a Stanley Cup as a player and eventually as a head coach. And the fact that you were a face of a franchise for over almost a quarter century. It's good to see the fact that how beloved Rod is, and something that he's done really well is just being able to find a way to make the Hurricanes overall a better team night in and night out, even when they struggle like how they have been in the last month or so. No matter what, you can count on this team never really quitting. And even if they have some off nights, that anything can happen to where they can come back and win games, or just being able to find a way to make a lasting impact. Either if it's in the community or on the ice or however it is. It's just the culture is a lot brighter more with Rod being in it. And honestly, just big congrats to him on 300 wins. You'd love to see it. And now next is when's 400 coming, when's 500 coming, and eventually when's that Stanley Cup going to come as well for Rod Brind'Amour behind the bench, coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, we talked about him. Now let's hear from him. And here in segment 3, we're going to listen to the Rod Brind'Amour press conference. So we're going to do that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Now, like I said, at the end of segment 2, we're going to listen to the Rod Brind'Amour press conference as he talked to media after the 5-2 win against the New Jersey Devils. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now.
Looked to me like another really noticeable game from Sean Walker. Have you noticed his growth kind of as the season goes on, getting more comfortable with the systems?
Well, I'm glad you brought him up. He doesn't get talked about too much here. He's been very consistent with his game, like you said. It's like he's just going about his business, and he's kind of been, I think, a little bit not rewarded for his play. I mean, getting goals and points or whatever. Like he's been around it and just been real, I think, solid all year.
Jackson, like said, I think you brought it up. The Christmas break would probably be good for him to kind of reset and come back stronger, and that's what he said he felt like in the night's game.
Well, he was impactful every time he was out there. I thought he was one of the better players on the ice, really. I didn't get him out there as much probably like, but just the way the game was going. But his line in general was really good, and he had a lot of good opportunities, and I was glad to see him get that one.
I'm sure you don't want this one, but fastest head coach in NHL history to 300 wins. I know that you probably will not take the
I got a good
to
team, I
appreciate
guess.
yourself, but who would you like to give credit for the path here?
Well, it's the guys. I mean, coaching is interesting. You get way too much credit when your team wins, and you just get abused when it doesn't. And it's like, wait a minute, it's not quite how it really works out. It's the group that you have, and I've been blessed. We've talked about it a lot. I got a really good group. Win or lose, it's pretty much. You can count the times on your hand where it wasn't a solid effort. They give you what they can every night, and that's something that I think I take the most pride in.
Did you like how Ty was able to step in tonight, especially first period? You put him out there, he plays 2 full minutes on the power play, and he actually had a pretty good chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a big jump. I mean, he hasn't played a game with us all year. We've had him kind of bouncing around with the roster stuff, and he's got a great attitude. I think that's part of the thing. Guys really root for him because he's been a real positive around here, and I was glad that not glad that we had to use him because obviously we got an injury, and Ghost is a big part of what we're doing, but he stepped in really well.
Do you anticipate Ghost being out?
I think he's getting looked at tomorrow, so I'm hopeful that it's nothing too serious, but obviously he's out for now.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes as always for that, and you can hear it too from Rod for the fact that Jackson Blake really needed that reset, and he comes out huge with a big power play goal to help the Hurricanes get the win, especially for it being a game winner. Ty Smith, coming in doing what he needed to do, especially on really short notice, and hasn't really played with the team at all this year, but comes in. Actually, at one point in the first period, led all the defensemen on time on ice at 7:29. Played huge minutes on the power play. Talk about finding a way to be just seamlessly put himself into the lineup. And, luckily with him having AHL experience, that really does help as well. So big, props to Ty Smith for coming in. Dustin Tokarski making some very big saves. That's something you love to see as well for the fact that he was being able to come up in a big moment where, the team's kind of down after losing the night before. Comes in, shuts the door on the Devils. Really on 2 goals, not really his fault because nothing you can do on a partial breakaway to Paul Cotter and then, backdoor feed to Andre Palat. What can you do? But other than that, stopping 21-23, you love to see that from him. And then also, too, just like I said, big night for Jack Roslovic, 2 goals, smashing on home multi-points. Sean Walker being a very huge player as well, being someone who can come in and has built his confidence over the last few games. You love to see that from him as well. And then Seth Jarvis having 3 assists for his first ever 3-assist night. Just an overall perfect team performance. And you'd love to see it, too, after the game, how Jordan Stahl stopped Rod from leaving the locker room and giving him his 300th puck. And he even referenced, to the fact that they did it for him when he won his first back in Columbus in October of 2018 to have a full circle moment of doing it for number 300 at home. You just love to see that for Rod and the team. And then just talking about the fact, too, like I said, we did mention that quote of how he credits his players. And that's just a guy like Rod Brind'Amour is. Even when he was a player, he credited a lot of the other guys as well. He doesn't like to talk about himself. He likes to talk about everyone else. And it just goes to show how much of a great person Rod is, for the fact that he would rather put the other guys first above him. And, it goes to show that how he's a player's coach, and someone's going to give credit to other people first before him. But you got to give credit to Rod Brind'Amour for everything he's done for the franchise as a player, as a coach. And what a perfect way to end 2024 at home for the last game before we go into 2025 with a huge win, especially for Rod Brind'Amour getting his 300th as a head coach. But there is one more game of 2024, and that's on Tuesday against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I guess you're going to stick around for the Tuesday episode when we preview the last game of 2024. But guys, that will be the end of a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. for your second listen, make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at TheZachary_Martin. I do link trees in both of my bios, where you can check out my articles at the Hockey Writers, or just go to thehockeywriters.com, search for Zach Martin. You can find my author page over there. If you want to check out my other podcasts on all podcast platforms or on YouTube, just go search The Surgecast. Now, for this podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you listen, just go and find Locked On Hurricanes, subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star rating and review, because if you do, I might just read on the show. On the YouTube side of things, Locked On Hurricanes, subscribe, hit the bell notification, you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up button, let me know if you like the episode as well. Share it with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. And in the comment section below, let's give a big congratulations to Rod Brind'Amour on win number 300. But I hope everyone enjoyed the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Monday. Once again, sorry for my voice being kind of off today. Hopefully it should be better sometime this week. But I hope everyone at least enjoyed the episode and understood and got through my raspiness from being sick. But like I said, I hope everyone has a great Monday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.